Hello, everybody. How are you today? I am so glad you decided to join me for our webinar from Elite Educational Enterprises. This is my first webinar. I'm very excited to have all of you join me today. Just a little bit before I start talking about hiring and retention, please visit our website and look at our calendar for our group trainings. We have a group training coming up, two in September that are already planned. If you select the dates we already have planned, we provide a deep discount, and it's for up to 15 employees, and you can add additional employees for an additional fee. You're still always able to go to our website and go ahead and select your own date for which kind of group trainings you would like to do, or the individual trainings for your team as well. Thank you, and we will get started. So I'm going to start right now and just let you know we're just going to talk about hiring and retention. So I'm hoping you get a few new ideas, or maybe a different way of utilizing ideas you've already put into motion. So welcome. I'm Michelle Costin for Elite Educational Enterprises. I'm really excited to be here. I'm a professional trainer for our group, and also a training coordinator. I do in person, and I also do online and webinars as well. I'm hoping everyone continues to join. Hiring and retention. Those are always the two big words. We're always thinking about hiring and retention because you can't really start enrolling more children unless you have enough staff. So this is part of a retention map I created just for directors, and hopefully some owners maybe are watching this as well, or you can share this with your owners. First thing I think about is retention. Really making sure that you are looking at your team and deciding, or viewing, or observing and assessing, are they happy? Are they feeling fulfilled in not just their role, but personally as well? Are they excited to come to work every day, not just for the children, but to see their coworkers, to work with their admin teams? So one of the things I really look at for retention is making sure we're not throwing teachers into classrooms. You say I put throw in quotes because I know that sometimes that happens. We have teachers that are really good. We pull them from our classrooms to put them in a room that maybe is struggling, or a teacher's out that day. But just be very mindful, even those with a great deal of experience. They're not always comfortable working with a different age group, maybe working with a different coworker. So we'll kind of get to a different way to really help support our educators that we already currently have in place, and how we can support them to work in various classrooms and feel really positive about the impact that they're making on the business. Something else is recognition and appreciation. Sometimes we think about recognition as a Starbucks card. Well, I don't drink coffee, so those were not always my favorite forms of recognition. But maybe with your current staff, and maybe you haven't ever really been able to have a conversation about what are a few of their favorite things. That's a really great opportunity to kind of reach out, maybe create just a one-page form that doesn't require a lot of mental effort or time, and just find out what are some things that they'd really enjoy. Create a list if you know there are things that you could easily provide for your team, and that will keep that I know you're budget conscious as well, but things like bonuses. It could be $10 a month for retention in the classroom. It could be bonuses because you're appreciating not just the work that they did, or their anniversaries coming up. Premium parking spaces. I'm going to be the first to tell you, I love the front parking spot. And I know that most programs always tell staff you need to park the farthest away as possible. And right now, while it's as hot as it is, nobody wants to be walking and sweating before they get into work. So that premium parking space goes a long way for many staffs. And extra PTO. Sometimes it's just an hour. But it's really nice, especially when you're new and you're not earning very much PTO anyway, if you can just get that hour break, or you get to pick work with with you, the director, and maybe the owner about going home an hour earlier, coming in an hour late, and really work that into your schedule. Those types of appreciation, I know have benefited my programs in the past, and I've heard from other directors that those were useful and go a long way in helping educators understand that you value the work that they do, because when they're there and doing a great job, you can enroll more kids and you can enroll more families, and families are excited about bringing their children, and we get less of the phone calls about that were not so great. Uh, Directors, you know how hard this job is, and your educators do as well. So any of the small things, parking spot, like I said, that's a big thing for me. Is something that I think that you might find is advantageous for your teams. So, more retention ideas, flexible schedules. I know when I was reading through Indeed and some other LinkedIn and some other job inquiry sites, I saw that most of the work was full time being offered. Even though when I've looked for a new job, I've always selected, part time, remote, temporary. So, consider putting jobs on your job boards that are unique, that offer something different than other programs are not offering. It could even be a temporary job, especially those summer positions that come up. High schoolers, they turned 18 or close to it, they've graduated, they just want a little work experience and some money for the summer. They're great closers. They can come in for those 2 hours and work with a really strong lead and really support the kids and just have a good time. A lot of our programs in summertime are like summer camp. At least a lot of mine were. And really think about job sharing as well. Maybe you have two educators and one wants to work 3 days and the other wants to work 2 days. While it doesn't sound ideal, if they collaborate and work really well together and assess the needs of the children in that class and have that communication with families, it could be a tenable situation that you could keep for a long time. That's also hiring people that only want part time. There are some older teachers and they're not even older, they've just retired from the school system, but they don't want to sit at home. So maybe a part time job a couple days a week would be useful as your floater or someone that comes in and covers lunches at nap time. And then regular communication. I know in my role as a director, I've often, it's a lot of conversation on the fly. And so my educators have let me know that they needed something a little more formal. And I try to limit any texting or any app information after hours whenever possible. But someone calls out sick, you got to find somebody. But you could do a staff newsletter. I know we focus a lot on parent newsletters and informing our families, but what about a staff newsletter? You might even have an educator that they are really good at media and would really love to put that together. You could highlight an educator or an age group for them. Updates on enrollments, also that regular communication. Some programs have a form, you fill it out, and the names of the parents, the name and age of the child, what day they're going to start. But it's really important for the entire school to know a whole new family's coming. If they're walking by the classroom, you can wave. If you happen to be in the hall, you can say, hello, so and so. You know them by name. It goes a long way in building that rapport, not just with your team, but your families as well. And special events for your team. It could be something as simple as I really like to do things on Friday. I feel like Friday we all are breathing a little bit easier. And, maybe it's just some cookies or it's pizza, and maybe it's once a month, but that you're regularly communicating with them. Even your communication can be something as simple as doing a video chat real quick with your team instead of going into the center. Nothing like getting off at 2:30 or 4 o'clock and having to drive back at 6:30 or 7. So those are some ways to retain your staff as well. Team building activities. Often those are great to do activities outside the center. that really support collaboration. But you also can do team building activities in the center as well. Once a month, you could invite one of your team to um, do an activity for the rest of the educators. And maybe that's one Friday I walked around and I gave everybody beads for the day, and I let the children know that the teacher's wearing beads because it's their special day. Children drew cards for them. They said it's your special day and got very excited. So it can be very simple things, and I imagine many of your team members are very creative and would could think about ways to collaborate within the school during the workday as well. Family engagement initiatives. Often we look at family engagement and we think it's just for families. That's part of the answer. One of the things about family engagement is that educators really need to be a part of that and feel engaged with those families. It can be very challenging, even if you have a piece of paper and the child's going to be, starting on a Tuesday. If you haven't had just a little bit of time, 5 minutes, to engage with that family, to say hello, even if it's one family member, grandma, mom, dad, and auntie, just to say hi. I'm Miss Michelle. I'm looking forward to having Bobby in my classroom. What is something that Bobby really enjoys doing? Because then you can kind of prepare for the day. When Bobby walks in, you go, Bobby, I heard that you really love trains. Did you know we have trains in here? That can really help with separation as well. So anything that you're doing with families to engage them, ensure that your educators are made aware and that they understand that they're a huge part of family engagement as well. That's who families see. They see their child's educator. They see the director too, but they're having more conversations and building a strong relationship with the person that spends the most time with their child. So think about different kinds of way you can do it. Some programs have moms and muffins, dads and donuts, and maybe once a month if you're doing a family activity, it ensure that one of at least one of your educators can be present for that so they can answer questions, get to know any of the families, especially ones that aren't in their classrooms, and show them how friendly your entire team is. It's not just their child's teacher, it's the team, so they can start to understand the culture and understand how collaborative your team is, which then they tell the other families. That's why I love that so much. As well. And I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. I do have more information. Again, you're going to see a lot of similar things from the not just the retention, but hiring. They really do go hand in hand. But retention is so important because if you hire new team members and they join your program, if you don't have a sense of positive culture and engagement in your center with your current staff, they probably won't last that long. They may also develop habits that you are working to eliminate. They may tell others don't apply there because it's not great at all. So you get that, the negative feedback. And if they're coming in unhappy and unorganized and acting as though they wish they weren't there, families start to understand and recognize that. Even if nobody said anything, they can kind of tell that person doesn't seem very friendly, or they don't seem very engaged with the children. And that can really leave negative feeling for families as well, where they might also start sharing, this place isn't great, they won't recommend it to their friends, etc. So those community engagement events, it's really wonderful to host them at your center. You could do a playground if you have a large room that you can set up, bring some activities. I know it's pretty hot out, or at least it was last week, that can be difficult to do outside. But if you host an event at the center and invite potential hires, Put that on your social media. Tell the families, hey, do you know somebody that might like to work for us? What about a neighbor whose college student is just graduated or is on a break from school and maybe they want a temporary job? So that'll be really great. And then also engage your current employees. Hey, do you have a friend or a relative, maybe a grandparent who's just, twiddling their thumbs at home? They're like, I just want to do something and I really enjoy kids. I call them my infant room rockers because what baby doesn't love to be rocked? And the more the merrier in those rooms. So ensure that they are part of the process of your events. They could even decide on a theme and create activities for the children. They can create games. They can decide which materials they're going to bring out to kind of showcase what it is that you do, especially if your program is known for something very unique. You definitely want to showcase that. If it's second languages, make sure those teachers can be available. Maybe you provide different kinds of dress up clothes based on your enrollment. Make sure you can also then have those available for children and families as well, so they can see that you really reach out to your community. Social media campaigns. I don't know anybody yet who's not utilizing social media that I know of, but it really is a great time to showcase behind the scenes what's going on when parents aren't there. Playground times when kids are learning how to ride bikes. Uh, some of the activities, a lot of times families, they're seeing the finished product, what their child did, but it's okay to show them the mess that happened. It's okay to show that paint got everywhere or that children don't always stay on the paper. And that's okay to kind of show them, hey, your child is still learning at these opportunities. Employee spotlights, that's always really wonderful too, for social media campaigns. And let them be a little personal. Have your employees do testimonials. Hey, this is why you should work here. Hey, this is what we're looking for. Somebody who loves to work with twos and doesn't mind getting dirty. Because we know in those toddler and 2-year-old classrooms, something will get spilt on you, right? So spotlight those employees and those testimonials. It's great for families to do that as well. Maybe you have some families that say, wow, I love bringing my child here. I love the teachers. We're looking for a new team too. New team members, because families know that too. Always incorporate them and let them know, hey, this is a great place for children. The employees seem so happy here, and see if you can highlight them as well so that they can be part of your media campaign and marketing. Something else that's great is to showcase your career growth. It can be challenging to kind of map that out. You have an educator that comes in, they have 10 years experience working with 2-year-olds, and maybe that's where they're really happy. They really love working with 2-year-olds. But how can you support them in growing professionally, but also personally? There's always more to learn. Every day we'll learn something new from the families that we have enrolled or maybe one of our team members. So host webinars on your social media. Do a Q&A where maybe potential employees have a chance to ask questions. You can do that with not just the director, but maybe your assistant director, and maybe you can invite some of your educators who are really great at answering questions, don't mind being on the camera, and feel like they have some answers for potential candidates. And virtual job fairs. Ever since the pandemic, we've done so many things virtually, and honestly, that can really help for maybe somebody who's got children at home, or maybe it's a Saturday and you do a virtual job fair, but they care for their family or a family member. So virtual job fairs, you might get more people that tune in to see what your program's about and see what not only what you offer, but what they have that they can bring to the table. And that's really part of engaging with the communities as well. So there are organizations that have similar missions. They're about child advocacy, they work with the homeless population, and maybe they're in the area as well, or maybe there's schools that are in the area. And while everybody, it seems, is really trying to hire, we know that not everybody necessarily has Montessori training. So maybe somebody applied at the Montessori school down the street from you, but they don't have the Montessori training that's required. Well, maybe they would be a good employee, but just not for that program. Can you work with another director and be able to share that information as well so that you're more collaborative? Because the bottom line is we're all trying to support families and children while also trying to make a living. And community and teamwork can really support that as well. Creative job advertisements. This is one that I have a lot of fun with. I read through over 100 job advertisements on several locations, and I realized a lot of them were we need a full time educator, not always even saying what the age group is, which is okay. Um, you need to have A, B, and C. And the standard, you need to be at least 18 years old, have your high school diploma, et cetera, et cetera. And we do absolutely understand that those are the bare minimum. So you definitely want to, include those. But maybe we can include those as minimum standard requirements versus your location requirements. And then really talk about the things that make the job at your location something that they want to do, because they will be excited to get up in the morning, exhausted but excited. That there are rewards to the position they'll be working in. Maybe it's with the co-teacher, and the co-teacher's been working for you for 10 years, and she absolutely loves to mentor and be with new employees and help support them as they're getting used to the culture and the climate at your program. And that also goes a long way with employee ambassadors, that we're inviting employees to offer the insight on employment at your center. A lot of times we start creating these job advertisements. We do our hiring and our interviewing solo as directors, but you have some great employees, at least one in your program, and they may have some insight into what makes your program tick. Really, what are the other educators saying that they enjoy most about the job? Because the truth is, educators don't leave primarily because they're not making enough money. They leave primarily because they feel disconnected from management or owners, whomever it's in that place. And if your program is one where you can go to the director, your educators can come to you and go, I'm just having a really hard day today. Maybe they complained or about a child that's in their classroom, because they're just trying to help you understand how challenging it is, but they're not complaining, if that makes sense. And that you go, wow, it sounds like that's a really hard time. Let's come up with a solution. And that educators know that they can come to their management team means the world to them. So, do you have an ambassador, an employee that your teams could go to? Director is not always available. I always find that the job is very paperwork heavy. If licensing calls or comes by, you have to drop everything. They're number one. If the owner comes by or is on the call, you have to drop what you're doing and do that as well. And so you may just have employees that really can lend an ear without becoming involved in any drama, and really support an educator and say, hey, let's bring that to the director, or let's problem solve and come up with some solutions we can share with the admin team. And so those are a few of the things that I have on my slides, but I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I know we talked about flexible schedules, and I'm wondering, has anybody tried that? Now, I've had a lot of temporary positions, and whenever I'm posting on Indeed or Monster and LinkedIn, those are kind of the three places. But there's also childcare websites and you can post there as well. And you can be creative in how you want to approach it. So, we want someone to join our team versus I need a teacher to work in the 2 year old classroom. Um, it's such a relationship based business. Your employees are coming there. We spend so much time together. We really get into families' business. If anyone's had a class of 4 year olds, they share all of the family's business at circle time. And then they also know about us. We have many parents that'll come in the morning and they're there almost 30 minutes just chatting, seeing how you're doing, bringing gifts to you when it's your birthday or when it's, a holiday. And it's really important to help any potential employees know that this is a place where you're going to join a team and have people that want to collaborate with you, that also want to support you on your great days and your not so great days, and that they know they can have somebody that they can count on and not feel alone. Many of our educators end up working alone in their classrooms. Professional development opportunities. I'm doing trainings now, as you can see with the webinar, but something that I noticed about 10 years ago is the professional development seemed to repeat. Like it was the same thing over and over, much like many of the licensing ones we have to do, child abuse, sleep, infants to sleep on their back. So some of the repetition, CPR, first aid, not too much has changed, although it did change about 10 years ago. But are there professional development opportunities that you can individualize? Do you encourage your employees to, and this is for retention as well, to look for things that, or look for opportunities that would fulfill them personally and professionally? And so those are some of the things to look for as well. It could be a workshop. It's also, there are some really great, and Elite has it too, a behavior management style of a workshop, and specialized certifications also. Some of our teams want it, they want their CDA. How can we support them in getting that? How can we help them look for scholarships? How can we look at maybe Texas Workforce and see if there's a scholarship there? So it's really important to kind of ensure that we give our employees opportunities for professional development that really are tailored for them. And there is room in those 24 hours, even the 30 hours for directors. There is room in there for choice. And if you're not aware of that, there is. And Elite Educational really has some really wonderful opportunities too. So you can go and look at our website, and you can see also many of the ones that your educators can do individually, and not just as a group. Involvement in decision making. That's another place too. Oftentimes management, myself included, and with owners, we tend to kind of decide this is what we're going to do, and this is how we think it's going to work. But we don't always remember to ask the people that are actually doing the work, the ones that are in the classroom, the ones that the parents see most often. And so how can we collaborate and involve them in that decision making? So give your staff a voice. Hey, you know what? We need to hire a new teacher. First of all, does anybody, for retention purposes, does anybody want to work in the classroom that needs a new teacher? Let's talk to the team about that. Let's ask them, are they interested in maybe working in a different age group? Because you may be really surprised. They may have not really thought about it, but kind of maybe, and maybe they want to try it out before you necessarily hire a teacher for that classroom. But ask the teachers, like, what are you looking for? What kind of personality? What do you want them to know about us? Whatever it is, how will you collaborate? Does your team hang out on the weekends? Are you more that you just see each other at work and maybe you text sometimes? So really try to involve them. Maybe you could help your teams form a committee for those that want to join. I've had parent committees as well just a couple parents that were just really interested in, making our program grow and having the very best teachers for all of the children in the classroom. And so that's something they could do separate, and then they can collaborate on their ideas as well. Compensation. We know compensation is different in every area that you live in and you have your programs in. We also know that what our budgets are, and when you're first starting out and opening a program, you have what you want to make, but you don't always have a lot of money for the hiring. But you have to invest in excellent team members to be able to get those enrollments that will stay. That's what's great about that. And so, what are some other ways that you can compensate your team members? Allowing them to have a voice and be a part of the decision making, not just always being told, here's what we're going to do. That goes a long way. If you have the opportunity to provide benefits for your teams, sometimes that's health benefits, PTO, anytime you can provide paid time off. That's such a blessing for a lot of families. I mean, a lot of educators, and you can let them know too. If you can, I've had one program where I didn't make the choice, but you had to use a whole day of PTO. You couldn't use an hour or say a half day. That didn't seem to make sense to me. So maybe a very flexible PTO. Maybe somebody needs to leave an hour early for a doctor's appointment, or come in a little late, or take a long lunch break, but they can't afford to miss out on the whole paycheck. So can you be flexible with your PTO? And like we talked about too, what are some other compensations? Premium parking spots. I'm telling you, you get hired and you can have the front parking spot for your first 30 days. Maybe it's a sign-on bonus, but just remember, your current team will understand that there's sign-on bonuses that they might not have been able to receive. And so is there a way that you can compensate them for enrollments? A family that stays for 30 days or 60 days, or annual. Also, some benefits, and ask your team, what is something that would be a benefit to you? What is the way I could compensate you for not just your time, but just your positive attitude, your willingness to collaborate and adjust? Because we know this job is a lot of adjusting at every moment throughout the day. And then those opportunities for creative expression. There are classrooms that oftentimes look a little sterile, right? You walk in and it looks like the next classroom and the next classroom and the next classroom. So is there a way for maybe it's one wall or it's one display board where that educator in that classroom can just really let their creative side shine. Maybe it's a birthday bulletin board and they just want to create something magical for the particular group that they have at the time. So any way you can help showcase the talents and passions of your current team. And when you say have a potential new hire, you're walking around the building after you've had a conversation with them and you're feeling like they might be a good fit, they can kind of see that, oh, this teacher is interested in pottery, or this teacher is really interested in fostering animals. So something that is more than just a 2-sentence bio about, this is Miss Michelle and she has this many years of education and this is the kind of degree she has. Think about that for your current team and what you might expect for your new hires as well. I am not done. Mentorship as well. So mentoring, it's really invaluable when you're bringing in a new team member, even if they have 10, 15 years of experience, because they have experience with children and the families that they've worked with. They don't necessarily have experience in understanding the rhythm of the day, the culture of your program. So anytime you can bring in a new educator and put them with a mentor, that's an educator that's been with your school a long time, or maybe that's an educator who's willing to work with somebody and kind of show them the ropes, at least a half a day. Just provide that opportunity so that they feel like they've got a friend, that they're meeting somebody, it can really go a long way. I did a training a few days ago, and somebody mentioned that they had started there 9 years ago, but on their first day, they were put in a classroom by themselves with 8 children. Now, that's not a lot of children, right? 2-year-olds. But it is when it's your first day. You don't know the children, you don't know the families yet, and you want to make sure you're doing everything right. A lot of us are perfectionists. We want to do it right, directors and our teams. So, do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody that they could just work side by side with and kind of understand how things roll along? And we did talk about a community engagement as well. So look in your area for volunteer organizations. Um, they there are so many people that want to volunteer, but they're not sure where they can. And you can have volunteers in your school. You just have to click volunteer when you're running the background check. And they can be really useful, especially covering those lunch breaks during nap times, because that's always, you don't want to send one of your employees on to lunch at 3:30. But maybe there's some volunteers that can come in. Ask your families. Do you have anyone that enjoys volunteering? Maybe they have a grandparent that lives in the house, but they decided to go ahead and enroll their 3-year-old in your program because they felt like they wanted them to get the kind of that school experience, right? Coming to school, being dropped off in the morning, having to engage with other peers their same age. But maybe there's a grandparent that's just not sure what to do and they want to come by a couple times a week. So definitely engage the people that you currently have. And when we're talking about career growth opportunities, it's invaluable to have that in writing. You could put something in your staff handbook if you choose. It could be something that you create tonight or tomorrow. Let them know what are the paths. If they're happy staying in a 2-year-old classroom, working with 2-year-olds, great. Is there an opportunity to float up with the children when the group moves? Say in the fall, it's a lot of time when movement happens. Can that educator go with those children as well? Continuity of care is invaluable, can be really great. A lot of programs will do that as well. Like in Montessori, 0 to 3, those educators are a group and they all stay together, and then the 3 to 5 as well. And so maybe somebody would like to do that. That also provides a new experience for your current staffing as well. And when you're hiring, let those new team members know that they are hired to work in your program, not just necessarily a classroom. I have seen that occur where maybe you needed somebody in a 2-year-old classroom, but then something happened and you need them to go into another classroom because we know job security, we got to get in there and make sure our classrooms are in ratio. But they just are really not, they're so opposed to working with any age group than the 2-year-old. Part of that is inexperience, but sometimes people just refuse. And so when you're doing that hiring process, say, we all work here as a team, and we're going to go where we're needed and best utilized. And if you see something in an educator that says, wow, I really think they would be great with a particular age group, I'd love for them to try that out. So I did that with my school one summer, and I had 2 educators. One was a toddler, one was a preschool teacher, and one was a toddler teacher. And there was something about their interactions with parents. Parents would always come and say how great it was. They felt like they received so much information, which I absolutely loved. But I didn't see that enough in my infant room. So I asked them, I said, would you consider being infant teachers? They both absolutely said, there is no way. If you make me be an infant teacher, I'm going to quit. But as I wore them down and talked to them more and told them it wasn't a requirement, I said, well, 2 weeks, just for 2 weeks in the summertime before we get all of our new enrollment in the fall. They absolutely loved it and transitioned. I had a toddler teacher transition to preschool. Her creative side was so amazing. And the preschool kids could do more of the things that more of the projects that she offered for a class. So don't be afraid to talk to your team about how they might like to grow in their career as well. And also, is there a time where they could mentor in an assistant director position? Maybe they want to mentor in your position, in a director position, because they want to know more about how the whole system runs, right? That doesn't mean they're trying to take your job or even that they want to be director. The people that I've mentored as I was a director, most of them said, please, I don't ever want to do your job. We know it's a lot of paperwork, but it's such an amazing opportunity for them to really step inside another pair of shoes and understand how there are challenges in the director role and there are challenges in the classroom role, and that you have to work together to stay afloat, to stay motivated, and be able to feel like you want to show up and go back to work every day. So, is there a way for you to mentor your team that wants to be in management? Maybe they just started their bachelor's degree and they're thinking of on the route of education, but they're not sure if they want to be in elementary. Is child development education, early childhood education is 0 to 8. There are programs now in bachelor's degrees that you can get your degree working with 3 to 8 year olds. So that's that pre-K through third grade. And so maybe that'd be a great opportunity for them to understand that administrative side as well. So these are just ways that you can retain your team too. That nothing that we do should be a secret, or yeah, really, it shouldn't be a secret. We really should let our teams know what we're doing. Yeah, are there some things we can't share? Sure. That mostly has to do with background checks or information about families that we don't have the privilege to share. But for the most part, we can share everything about our school and what we do. Tell them what the budget is so they understand when we have to say, no, we can't afford that just yet. Maybe when you're offering opportunities for growth or collaboration or for incentives. Maybe you can't provide it that month, even though they earned it, but you can provide it the next month. So let them know, hey, this is what we're doing right now. And that really goes a long way in helping them support you as well. Oftentimes, directors, I was a director, I was the only admin in my school for a short time when it first opened up. I relied heavily on my team. They all were trained and felt comfortable answering the phone. They were all trained and comfortable doing a tour. So these were different things. I wanted to make sure they knew every aspect of the job and how important each piece was, because they all fit together. And that way, when you're hiring and you're trying, to find those educators that are going to fit with your group at that time, you can let them know those things as well. And here are some other opportunities for you. I will, you can shadow me while I'm giving a tour. Maybe that's another mentor opportunity as well. You can show them what the follow up looks like after somebody came and went through a tour with you, but you want to follow up with a phone call. Show them how to do that, because the more that know how to do all those jobs, it just shows families when they're coming to enroll how cohesive you are, versus having your team or even part of your management team saying, I don't know, which we shouldn't be saying, I don't know. We should let me find out. They won't have to say, let me find out so much. They would be able to share what they know and say, but you know what? Let me follow up with my management team to ensure I'm giving you all the information that you are requesting. And then, and we kind of talked about not just mentors, but what I like to call employee ambassadors. They are the ones that when you maybe you called somebody, you decided you want to do an in-person interview, right? See if they'll go in that classroom. Let them know before they come and say, hey, I want you to spend 15-20 minutes in my 2-year-old classroom, even if that's not the age where you necessarily need an educator, but you have an employee ambassador. One of your educators in that classroom can share everything they love about their job, what they wish they knew before they got hired, what they know now, what some of the challenges were, but what were the solutions that they came up with. Then you're hiring And then they can give you feedback. That's what I mean to say. And that will help you decide too, is that really somebody that's going to mesh with the team that you have? um, because our employees, they really know what goes on behind the scenes. As directors, we don't always get to hear about what's really going on in the background. So those employee ambassadors, they're not tattletaling or telling information that shouldn't be shared. But many of our educators are not comfortable talking to the boss. And that's just the bottom line. They don't want to talk to the director. They're worried they're going to get somebody in trouble or they're going to get in trouble. So have those employee ambassadors that can really share those experience about the people that they meet, and work with you to recruit the very best employees. I know sometimes we've had to hire people because we need a spot. There are temp agencies for that, so do consider that as well while you're looking for somebody that you believe is going to stay longer than 3 months. And again, creative opportunities and advertisements, and any ask your team about what kind of creative benefits that they really might enjoy as well. And I know that's not quite an hour. I would love to talk more. I can share a little bit more about the things that I do. So let me tell you kind of my retention process as well. I always include my teams. They Each month there's always that kind of mandatory training, or housekeeping information. I try to do as many of those via virtually as possible, so people can be at home sitting on their couch. We all kind of collaborate what's a good time. Sometimes our employees have children. Maybe 8:30 is the time, and we just do 30 minutes, right? And then I say, what are the things that you want to know? Has there been a challenge? So I try to keep the housekeeping stuff only if it's really, really necessary. Do I include it in a training? Otherwise, it's a written document, printed, pass it out to everybody, post it in our staff lounge. Maybe it's talking about, hey, the one of the schools I went to, only the morning openers were cleaning the bathrooms because the closers didn't have time to clean the bathrooms, and so they were feeling a little overwhelmed and kind of taken advantage of. Those were the words they used. And what was there a way we could help support them so we didn't have that negative sense, that air in the school? And no one really realized that's what was going on. Not everybody. And so once people were made aware of it, they created a sign up sheet. And that's what they did. They created a sign up sheet, and it was absolutely wonderful. They fixed the problem on their own once everyone was made aware. But I've really enjoyed talking with all of you today. I do hope you check out our website, because I would love for you to see some of the upcoming trainings we already have scheduled and join us for those. Thank you. And I'm Michelle Costin. And thanks again.
Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for taking this training today with us. I do have some links in the chat. So if you can please sign up for our email. You'll get a lot of information, upcoming free trainings, discounts. We have a lot of discount codes coming out this coming month. So you definitely want to look for that. We have, go ahead and scan this code. You can take a screenshot with your phone right now. That'd be the quickest. And then go to the code, go ahead and sign up for our email. That's where you'll have all that information to stay up to date on licensing, training for your staff, much more at that link. And then there is a link as well in our comment section. That's where you can get your certificate for this class. The class was free, but the certificate is a small fee if you want those training hours in a certificate. So again, thank you so much, Miss Michelle Costin. That is one of our elite trainers. We'll give her a hand of applause, and I know y'all are smiling and clapping for her at home. Thank you so much for taking this time out of your busy day to come and train with us. I mean, we're all on the same page. We're in this together. Keep commenting in the group. Keep making posts in the group. We all want to lift each other up and be there for each other. So that's it. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon, everybody.